Good, hopefully Saturday afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Return of the Mark. I was nervous, but we're still going strong. How did you enjoy the pilot? I definitely learned some stuff kicking that out into the world, and I intend to follow up on that, which will hopefully make the listening experience of this podcast way better. Wish me luck, everyone. I'm going to keep on covering AEW, because I like AEW. And you may as well do things you like. I'll definitely sprinkle in other big shows that I watch throughout the week, and those weeks I'll probably drop the dark shows from the menu. Dark and Dark Elevation definitely serve a very specific purpose in AEW's booking, but the main shit happens on the TV shows, so that's what we'll focus on. Dark Plane is basically AEW's record laundering show, where you can have a guy lose a feud and then have him win 15 matches on Dark so that when he shows up on TV again, you can say he's won his last 15 matches. Dark Elevation is basically the not on TV this week, but people will want to see them show, and you gotta do something with all that footy. I respect it. But I like talking about them a little bit because they're fun to watch still. But if GCW or New Japan or something show happens, and I want to talk about those instead, I'm going to give them the boot. Or whenever ROH comes back with something, maybe I'll work that in. Who knows? There are no rules. Anyway, we start off with Dark Elevation. We got Dark Order versus the Job Squad. Angle's 5-punch in the corner is cool. Reynolds chops a dude so hard his elbow pad flies into the crowd. I love Uno's ref-assisted neckbreaker. And 10 does 2 really long stalling suplexes followed by a good spine buster. And the finish was a full Nelson assisted powerbomb that was mistimed. It looked like Uno dropped the bomb before 10 was ready. He looked a little rattled by it, but it didn't seem like it had legitimately hurt the dude. Once there's a little more seasoning on that, it'll be a really cool move. Next we had Emi Sakura versus Abaddon. Abaddon commits to the wrestling zombie gimmick better than the coward Undertaker ever did. Match was sort of heatless despite Abaddon getting a pretty good pop, but both women are really good wrestlers. Every move was done incredibly crisply, as you would expect from them, but it didn't feel like they got a good flow going. They sort of just slowly worked through their spots. Abaddon hits the Black Dahlia that looked fucking great for the pin. SoCal legend Purdy Peter Avalon versus Sonny Kiss. Sonny gets a good pop and gets put over strong by Paul and Mark. They sweetened the hell out of this match, which makes me wonder, why did they do nothing for Abaddon and Emi Sakura? It was almost kind of weird. Then, Tony Deppen versus John Silver. It's really nice to see Tony Deppen on a national brand. I know he was in ROH, but that doesn't count to me, mostly because I'm bitter. Deppen does the mounted palm strike and gives a big ol' shit-eating grin. Silver wins with the spinning backbreaker. I hope Deppen gets more shots because I really like him and John Silver for that matter. Lee Strickland versus QT Marshall and Nick Comoroto. This is the Dark Elevation main event. I really like the factory. I like that QT is over no matter how much he loses, and that's a really important thing to have in a lower job guy like that. Nick Comoroto is also someone I think is going to get way, way better in the future. I like the tag team of Lee and Swerve, and I hope they eventually get the tag titles. Keith's big lifting wrist lock and double chop is amazing. Comoroto sells it great, like he's just in agony. He also does my favorite thing where he mocks "Whose house?" bit, and then he gets "oh shit" when Keith picks him up. Swerve counters getting thrown out of the ring by doing a handspring on the apron in order to punch Aaron Solo. Lee gets the pin on Comoroto after Lee's power slam. Elevation ends with Lee and Swerve celebrating. Nothing incredibly standout this week on Elevation. It's just some wrestling fun. Like I said, might as well do something with that footy of the guys who aren't booked on Dynamite or Rampage. Which brings us to Dark. Our opening contest, Jay Lethal versus Jake Something. Jay Lethal is, of course, with Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh. Something doesn't get announced because he gets jumped by Lethal. Singh is weird because he feels like WWE shit. Just here's a tall guy. I do think that Lethal needed something to flavor him up, and I think having Sanjay with him is a great start. But Santam feels out of place, and I don't know where they're going with him. I've never seen Jake something because I don't watch Impact, but he does some impressive offense in the beginning. Lethal looks at the crowd disdainfully at the top rope, but does his elbow anyways. I thought he was going to just drop down. Lethal gets the win with the lethal injection while shouting, "You see that, Joe? That's gonna happen to you," at the camera. Something gets the boots put to a medium style, while the crowd chants Joe. Smartly, Dutt and Lethal egg them on because Joe isn't there. Next we had Jake Manning versus Alex Reynolds. Manning is an independent wrestling staple, probably best known for the Freight Train interviews. He's reading the Bear Cub manual as Reynolds comes out, which is great. Reynolds reads the Bear Cub manual as he pins Manning, but Uno and Ten get jumped at the entrance by Cesar Bononi and Tiger Ruas. So hopefully we get a real cool tag match. Dark Order is very underutilized. I think every member is massively talented, but they're so rarely on the main shows. Jora Joel talks about getting offered a spot in the Hardy family office, but never actually got any opportunities from it. Which is a great point because I've been watching for a few months and I had no fucking clue who he was. And hopes Andrade will actually be able to recognize his talent. Next we have the Gun Club versus Fly Death. The Ass Boys thing is really over, which is where the Gun Club goes. Nothing else to say about this match. Serpentico versus Captain Sean Dean. A really good pre-intermission local promotion match, which I didn't mean that as a diss on the match, but now that I read it back for this podcast, that is a fucking rough. Anyway, next match is Brick City Boys versus Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson. I don't know what the Brick City is. I looked it up, and it's Newark, New Jersey. Good on them for resisting doing a Sopranos gimmick. Brock looks freakishly like a young Arn, but I feel like he needs some kind of gimmick or something else that separates them a bit. That he's wearing the same gear and everything makes me just think of him as Arn's son rather than his own wrestler. Nice little showcase match. Next, Abaddon versus Vicky Dreamboat. Excalibur acknowledges Abaddon's win over Emi Sakura the night before, but Abaddon's record hasn't been updated yet. Actually, I wrote that note and had the forethought to check again, and her record is up to date, just in case you were wondering if I was a fucking idiot or not. At one point, Abaddon no-sells, and Dreamboat does this great, "Oh shit, that did nothing," face behind her. Quick win with the Black Dahlia. Then we get Trip Jordy versus Jora Joel. Let's see if I recognize his talent. Trip keeps whipping, so I don't care for him very much. Joel does some good suplexes that do not excite Taz. Joel mocks his whipping by punching him in the face, which I dig. Joel does a pump kick, my favorite wrestling move for the win. So I recognize his talent. Kiera Hogan versus Sky Blue. Hogan has Red Velvet with her to represent the baddies. They do a weird run around the ring spot, and Velvet tries to fuck with Blue, but it doesn't work really, which was weird. But it eventually leads to a neck breaker into the ring from Hogan, so it eventually works out. We also get a mutual caught kick that actually ends with them putting their legs down. Is any of this making any sense at all? Hogan counters a dive attack with a crazy thrust kick that was sick. After some cheating, Hogan wins with a big enziguri. Kevin Knight and the DKC versus Nick Camarado and Aaron Solo. I watched DKC wrestle in a strip club in San Diego for a promotion called Fist Combat. He was the Get Fisted television champion, even though I'm not sure the promotion actually ran on TV. The promoter was a deathmatch wrestling clown named Dirty Ron McDonald. You'd best believe the tagline for the promotion is, "We're gonna fist ya." So needless to say, DKC is really moving up in the world. Taz calls out Excalibur for digging in his ear. The story of the match is the LA Dojo Boys put up some great offense but cannot overcome Camarado's sheer power. Lots of great young talent in this match, and I'm looking forward to seeing where everyone goes in the next few years. QT offers to let the dojo guys jump ship, but they refuse, leading to a big ol' beatdown. DKC gets thrown through a couple of tables, and Knight gets surrounded by the factory. The rest of the LA dojo come out and chase them off. It took a minute to set up those tables, guys. Was this really the quickest you could make it out? Next we get Rohit Raju versus Adam Priest. I have no idea who these guys are, so I'm excited to see what's up with them. Rohit Raju is the showcase guy here, and he's pretty good. Does some nice offense. At one point, he does a really awesome swinging neck breaker that he holds on to and pulls Priest up into a fisherman suplex with a very nice bridge, which is one of my favorite things in wrestling. Things got a little sloppy at the end, though. Rohit tries to drop Priest onto the top rope, but Priest lands on his quads and, thankfully, rotates all the way to land on his back. Raju wins, though, and let's see where he goes. They keep saying his mother calls him son because he shines like one, which is a weird thing to say. My mother calls me son too, and I ain't shit. It don't mean nothing. Main event time. Evil Uno and 10 versus Cesar Bononi and Tiger Ruas. Last week, Stu Grayson was rumored to and officially announced that his contract had expired with AEW, and it made me curious as to what we would see happen with Uno, seeing as they were tag partners. It looks like they're going with him teaming up with 10 for now, which is a good move. It looked like they were setting up some tag team moves for them in Elevation. Or maybe that's just for this show. Who knows? It seems like Dark Order floats around a lot, even with Super Smash Bros. And Beaver Boys being the mainstay tag teams. Ruas and Bononi are fucking jacked, though. It's nice to see these large men. I don't know if I've never noticed, but 10 is wearing a Brody armband. At some point, 10 starts a stalling suplex, and Bononi just pulls Ruas down. That made me laugh. This is actually a really good match, and I recommend checking it out if you're ever just browsing YouTube. Both teams work really well together, so if it is indeed Uno's fate to team up with 10, I say let it be. Alright, on to the main shit. Welcome to Dynamite. We get Adam Cole versus Dax Hardwood. Adam Cole versus Dax Harwood for the Owen Hart Foundation. The ultimate Shawn Michaels guy versus the ultimate Bret Hart guy. Come on. Crowd is hot for both guys, which you love to see. Speaking of love to see, I am not over how lovely the ROH tag belts are. Cole acts like an asshole early on, but Dax doesn't get rattled and answers with some grappling. Cole responds with being an asshole and gets his shit chopped in. Cole manages to throw Dax into the ring post and into the steps a couple times, so Dax is selling the midsection hard. Both these men are true main event level talents, and this is good shit. Cole's left arm is really bothering him, and it's really taped up, so I hope he's okay. Dax and Cole trade Germans, and it's real nice. I only just noticed Dax's boots have the same white on black pattern as Bret Hart. Cole teases a super kick in the corner, to huge booing, which is incredible. Dax blocks the Panama Sunrise by grabbing the top rope, which is some major Bret Hart shit. Dax locks in the sharpshooter to major ovation, but his ribs are too hurt to hold on for long. He gets pushed off the apron and overshoots the ringside mat and lands directly on concrete, which really, really sucks. We get a real close 9 count, and Cole locks in the sharpshooter to major boos. I love that Cole is super over. He gets dueling chants otherwise, but whenever they lean into his HBK influence, the crowd fucking hates it. He gets the tap out, and Cole will face the winner of Darby Allin versus Jeff Hardy. We get a promo package about Jeff versus Darby talking about how they want to do crazy shit, and I am scared. But next we get John Silver versus CM Punk. We get Hangman on commentary for this one. Punk comes out in a New York Islanders jersey to booze, so like I predicted, Punk is going to lean heel here. They even turn his music off at the ramp so you can really hear it. This definitely improves John Silver's hometown hero pop, so this was a great move. I'm definitely interested in seeing how the face-heel dynamic plays out between Hunk and Pangman. Jesus. Hold on, I need water. Anyway. For this match, it actually goes about 60-40 between Punk and Silver. JR asks Hangman how bad Punk wants to leave his hometown with the AEW title, and I think he got Double or Nothing confused with Forbidden Door. Punk is pretty much running things in this match and keeps looking over at the commentary booth. Silver ducks a corner attack and Punk lands right on his penis. Punk gets back in control and flips off the crowd, which people don't react to. But he pivots to mocking Silver's muscle pose, which does get boos, and I thought it was a good move. Punk and Hangman stare bullets into each other, and Punk hits the buckshot lariat for the win. Punk cuts a great promo and offers his hand, but Hangman flips him off and walks away.
Are you mad, Hangman? Huh? Last week it sounds to me like you're taking this a little personal. I don't know why these people don't like me. When it comes to them, when it comes to you, when it comes to that title, it's not personal to me. It's just business. I used to wake up every morning and ask myself, are you a good guy? This morning I woke up and I asked myself, are you the champ? And my answer was yes. Last week you also said you weren't gonna shake my hand, that you were gonna destroy me. Well, I just destroyed your boy. That's a blueprint for what I'm gonna do to you. And whether you like it or not, at the end of the night, Double or Nothing, you will shake my hand, whether you're conscious or unconscious.
I think it's an interesting promo from Punk because Hangman really did ramp up the personal nature in the match, even though nothing has really happened yet. In fact, I think this is the first time we've actually seen them together. Britt's crew is in the back with Tony, and Britt talks about how she's being conspired against by facing the Joker, but she's going to move on to win anyway. She says every storm must pass, and tonight, Tony's storm ends. Tony asks what'll happen if the two of them have to meet up in the tournament, and Britt says the best woman will win. Danhausen versus Tony Nese. I'm excited to see this because I've never seen Danhausen actually wrestle. I understand he's been hurt, and now he's finally well enough to come back. Good for him. Nese gets the jobber entrance for some reason. We start with Nese jumping Danhausen, getting the running knee for the win. Alright, I'm into that. We get a promo from Smart Mark Sterling while Nese hits the knee again, and Hook comes out. Nese runs off, which makes sense. Danhausen wakes up and offers his hand to Hook, who takes it to the delight of the crowd, and Hook walks off. I thought it was really cool. Like, this was a super good segment. I really liked the way they played with the kind of audience expectation of, you know, the guy who doesn't get an entrance is the weaker, less important dude. Because, you know, that's exactly what I thought when they cut back from commercial break and Tony Nese was already in the ring, where it's like, oh, I guess Nese is just going to get schmutzed. But he didn't. It was really good. Next, MJF with the contract signing. Wardlow comes out to no music, handcuffed, and a Boo Wardlow video. We get a fake Dark Side of the Ring package, recapping the MJF Wardlow feud, complete with narration from Chris Jericho. This is absolutely amazing, and I hope they upload it independently somewhere. MJF comes out to a big ovation and leans on the barricade. It's pretty magic being in the one place on the planet where MJF is loved. MJF goes overboard putting himself and Long Island over. Says they'll go over the terms of their match and absolutely doesn't wink Long Island wink to boo Wardlow out of the building when he tries to talk. Wink. Wardlow takes the mic to huge boos. MJF takes this as them not wanting to hear him at all, so he decides not to let him. MJF is totally in his element, acting like a total asshole. He's gonna whip Wardlow with the belt 10 times. He has to face Shawn Spears in a cage with MJF as the referee. Finally, if Wardlow loses, he will be blocked from ever signing with AEW ever. Wardlow can't sign the contract with the cuffs on. MJF demands they be removed. Wardlow signs and fucking destroys security to the panic attack of MJF. MJF and Spears manage to escape, and Smart Mark Sterling gets a powerbomb through the table. This segment was amazing, and I pretty much laughed my ass off the entire time. Definitely check this segment out if you missed it, because MJF is totally in his element. It just being just a complete asshole. I am completely ready for this match. We get a promo package about Joe and Lethal. Joe says he's going to go through the Owen Hart Foundation tournament and then go after Lethal. Sanjay Dutt says Lethal is not the Joker, but he knows Joe hopes he is. This makes me think it's possible Satnam may be the Joker, which would be terribly disappointing. Dutt says there's a Punjabi saying, "Your stomach is big, but your brain is small." And I don't really know what that means in this context. Next we get Jungle Boy versus Ricky Starks for the FTW title. This was the match I was most excited for after Dax and Cole. Starks and Jungle Boy are two immensely talented young dudes who are for sure future world champions. But this match is not for the world title, but the fuck the world title. This is a minor thing, but I like that the FTW belt is just a little bit shittier looking than the main belts. Really gives it that unsanctioned punk rock feel. We get some grappling between the two, and Ricky smacks Jungle Boy, who does some grapple to slapple of his own. The two are pretty evenly matched at the start. We even get dueling lucha arm drags and kip up recoveries. After some brawling outside, Ricky hits a stun gun back in the ring, which is a real underrated move, I think. Starks eventually counters a tornado DDT into a vertical suplex, which gets countered into a tornado DDT, and it was fucking cool. Some more back and forth, and Jungle Boy kicks out of a spear, and Ricky looks into the camera and goes, "Why me?" Which is incredible. Jungle Boy gets the snare trap in, but Ricky makes it to the ropes and grabs the FTW belt. Swerve comes out to stop the shenanigans, but inadvertently distracts the ref from Starks getting rolled up, and Ricky is able to hit the Rochambeau for the pin, while Swerve makes the miss the shot to end racism face. Christian and Luchasaurus come down, and some arguing happens. Keith Lee comes out and faces down Starks and Hobbs, but they look towards the champs. Christian comforts a very disappointed Jungle Boy, who tried his best, truly. The thing about this angle, and I really like this angle, and I hope there's like some kind of three-way match, but really, if it is another three-way match, it will feel just like the Revolution match, where it felt like a thing between the other two teams, and Jungle Express is only there because they're the champions. Like it doesn't feel like they're personally invested in this feud at all. But I'm very excited because the match will be fucking killer. Next, we get the Jericho Appreciation Society victory speech. Excalibur is one out of the 11 people who listened to my podcast last week, because he also says the Jericho Appreciation Society are coming out for a victory speech for some reason. Angelo starts off with the AAW Galaxy. Matt Menard says being in the Jericho Appreciation Society makes his nipples hard. Jericho says he was born in the area but moved away quick because Long Island sucks. He says he'll throw another fireball because he's a wizard, and now I get where the name came from. He demands Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz stay home. Says Kingston should take care of his wife at home, or Jericho will take care of her for him. Mox comes out looking like he's going to fuck the five of them up, while commentary recaps the history between Mox and Jericho concerning the AEW title. Jericho gives him one chance to go on another 3-month break, and Danielson and Yuta come out. Jericho points out that they're still outnumbered, but Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz come from behind, and the crowd chant, "You fucked up," which might be the best use of the chant I've ever heard. Big ol' schmoz starts that ends quickly when Regal punches Jericho in the fucking face. Regal looks real intense, and it's definitely all the pro wrestlers versus sports entertainers shit talking that's been happening. Some combination of these guys is happening, and I'm looking forward to whatever combo it is. We get a video package for Serena Deeb versus Thunder Rosa. Not much to say on it, but the match will bang, which is what's important. Jamie Hayter versus Tony Storm for the Owen Hart Foundational Tournament. Schiavone mentions that Hikaru Shida may be hurt and unable to be in the tournament, but they'll get back to us. Excalibur says this will be their first one-on-one match between these two, but they've been building it up based off of them having an old rivalry, so who knows what's true or not. We start off with trading some front face locks and pin attempts. Things heat up quickly, and Tony gets knocked to the outside of the ring. Jamie goes out and hits the snap suplex, but goes right back inside, content with taking the count out or forcing Storm to use her own effort to get back up and into the ring, which I liked. Storm gets picked over the commercial break, but starts to mount a comeback. Jamie kicks out of a big crossbody and hits a backbreaker, but looks like she landed Tony on her knee real weird. She hits a fucking Uranagi onto the apron, which was fucking sick. Hayter gets a sheer drop brainbuster from the top, but Tony counters the follow-up into a roll-up, then hits the Storm Zero for the win. She's gonna face the winner of Britt Baker versus the Joker. I'm interested in whoever the Joker is, but it seems like they've really been building up Storm versus Britt, so who knows what'll happen? Who even knows? Next is a video package for Kaz versus Sky. Sky says he's going to be in the ring with his friend, but is going to go full tilt. An interview with Kaz is interrupted by Sammy and Ty, who warn Kaz not to trust Sky, which Kaz laughs off and says he knows who he can trust after being around so long. Tells him to be unlikable somewhere else. Sammy says, "See you later," and walks off. I don't even know what that means. Kaz says Sammy's vlog sucks, which I cannot verify. Our main event, Jeff Hardy versus Darby Allin. Owen Hart Foundation. Men's Tournament. Quarterfinal. It was announced earlier that this match will have a no rules rule. I talked a lot last week about how Jeff is kind of closing out, and I hope they really tilt the way they use him after this tournament. I said he looks nervous last week, but this week he's painted up, so who knows. Tony says this is Jeff's first singles match in AEW, and Excalibur reminds him that that was actually last week. Darby immediately hits a shotgun dropkick and tope suicida and starts setting up a whole bunch of chairs in a row, then Jeff flapjacks him onto the steps. Jeff almost hits Sting with the steps and says he's sorry. The steps AEW have seem way too awkward to practically use, and that always worries me. Jeff hits a twist of fate in the ropes and pulls out the 20-foot ladder. Fuck. Darby hits a really great code red. Jeff does his step-up drop kick in the corner, but seems to land on his head? It looked gnarly. Jeff sets up and climbs the ladder where Darby is set up near the chairs, but Darby jumps up and pulls Jeff off thankfully. Then, unthankfully, Darby climbs up and swantons Jeff's onto the chair. Jesus fucking Christ. Jeff barely catches him, and I don't know how they aren't both dead. That was fucking crazy. Darby goes for a coffin drop, but Jeff moves and Darby lands on the apron. Jeff sets Darby up on the side of the steps, and Jeff goes for the swanton off the top rope, but Darby moves out of the way. Back in the ring, Darby hits a coffin drop, but Jeff rolls him up into a crucifix pin for the win. The Hardys, Darby, and Sting all shake hands and hug and stuff in the ring. The Undisputed Elite come to the stage for a big ol' stare down, as Jeff is facing Cole next week, as we go off the air. I had a huge fucking knot in my stomach watching this match. I know this might sound weird because I love deathmatch wrestling, but I hate these big bunk matches. I don't mind one or two big ones in a multi-man match where at least that usually means they get spread out between people, but in this match it was just Jeff and Darby. I got really fucking worried. Overall, this was a good episode of Dynamite though. Every match was worth watching, and my pick for match of the night goes to Dax Harwood versus Adam Cole. Those guys are two of the most untouchable active wrestlers that had a really good dynamic, and it paid off. But the week isn't over. Oh no, son. We got Rampage. We start off with Butcher, Blade, and Mark Quinn versus Death Triangle. It's real nice to see the full Death Triangle lineup again. And I like that Fenix is in all white to contrast with the Penta Oscuro gimmick. It also makes me laugh that Malachi Black's Mist turned Penta into Penta Oscuro. Julia Hart is turning evil by the day, but Pac was just already as big a bastard as he could possibly be. There's a great moment where Pac drop kicks Butcher out of the ring and just waits with this look of, get back in here so I can keep fucking kicking you. Fenix and Quinn have some fantastic high flying back and forth, and I just noticed Quinn has the most absurd hair setup. I can't tell if Fenix's elbow is taped up still or if he just got an off-white pad on. I certainly wouldn't blame him, and I can't even remember which elbow he hurt because I couldn't watch the footage again after seeing it happen initially. Blade and Butcher do this excellent sidewalk slam leg drop combination that was just beautiful. Quinn does this nuts swanton to the outside, and Butcher and Blade do another rad double team move, where they do like a team GTS. Even though this match is clearly to re-establish Death Triangle as a threat now that Fenix is back, they're doing an excellent job making the Andrade family office look great. Pac does this snap deadlift German into a great bridge, but Quinn's legs are in the ropes because he's long. We see Kyle O'Reilly taking notes for his upcoming match with Fenix, looking charismatic as always. Fear Factor into Black Arrow, and Triangle wins. Lights go down and House of Black show up for a second to stare our heroes down, then just disappear just as quick. Great use of the pre-tape as all that took like 10 seconds. Shawn Spears versus Bear Boulder. I like Shawn Spears' fake Eminem track. Shawn Spears is great as a shithead heater for MJF, and also great at being a shitheaded asshole for Wardlow, so I dig him. He tries to get in Bear Boulder's face, and immediately gets the goozle, which is great. Spears keeps weaseling out of Boulder's office and hits the C4 for the win, then immediately starts beating Boulder with the chair. Shouts, Wardlow, the giant killer cometh. We cut to Smart Mark Sterling and Tony Nese in the back. Sterling says he shouldn't be in the match with Hookhausen because he's not a wrestler, doesn't even have gear, which is a great point. Tony reassures him that he'll be able to destroy Hook and Danhausen by himself, as he's already beaten Danhausen quite handily, so this is a good point. He says to put 10K on them once they get to Vegas, which, fucking good luck. Rio versus Ruby Soho, Owen Hart Foundation quarterfinal. Both these women are incredibly talented, so I'm real excited to see this one. Rio plugs her ears during Soho's music, which is fucking rich coming from her. We get a code of honor and a tie-up and a clean break, which you always like to see. Lots of really great back and forth counter wrestling between the two. Lots of good roll-ups and cradles. Soho is really great at selling. She lands out of a top rope move and seems to tweak her knee, so Rio counters the no feature into a single leg crab with a fucking bridge. Beautiful stuff. Usually, the picture-in-picture segments slow things down, but we're still going hot and heavy back and forth. So they do some rest holding, but never for too long. And this match is great. Definitely go out of your way to check this one out. Not too much heat or anything crazy, just some really solid wrestling. We get Ruby Soho advancing with the Blade Runner. Soho raises Rio's hand and they bow to each other. Good shit. Match of the week, for sure. We get a fun backstage segment with the Gun Club and the Acclaimed. Billy Gunn says that they need elements, and Gun Club suggests DX shit, and Gunn shuts it down. Acclaim suggests Acclaim shit, and he loves it. Everybody loves the Acclaimed. Says they have a match coming up on Elevation, and everyone celebrates. Tony Schiavone. What the fuck? Tony Schiavone. I've lost all of my confidence. Tony Schiavone is. Jesus. Tony is in the ring and calls down the baddies section, who come out with $100 bill fans, and Smart Mark Sterling is all banged up from the Wardlow encounter. So it turns out that Hikaru Shida isn't able to compete in the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament because she isn't medically cleared after the street fight with Serena Deeb. This is not true, as Hikaru Shida is just wrestling in Japan right now. Jade does her "cut the shit, cameraman, do your job" bit, and it's great, as everything Jade Cargill does is great. Smart Mark Sterling says Red Velvet should be granted a bye, and Tony says no. Chris Statlander. Velvet looks nervous, and Cargill is nonplussed. Good shit. But it looks like there's been enough talk.
Well, look like there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event.
While Ethan Page and Dan Lambert talk shit on Kaz and Sky shut it down. Sky tells Page and Lambert to stay in the back and does his snap to black thing, but Mark Henry and Kaz stay up, so it looks really funny. Excalibur is ridiculous and for sure not paid enough. Listen to his plugging here, it's absurd.
Next week, it's Wildcard Wednesday on AEW Dynamite at 8, 7 Central on TBS. We know Samoa Joe has a spot in the quarterfinals in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, but who will his opponent be? The same goes for Dr. Britt Baker. She is qualified, but we'll have to wait until Wildcard Wednesday to find out the identity of her opponent. We know for certain that Ray Phoenix will face Kyle O'Reilly in the third Owen Hart Foundation quarterfinal round matchup. Plus, in order to get one step closer to MJF, Wardlow must take 10 lashes at Dynamite. AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page goes one-on-one with the Japanese phenomenon Konosuke Takeshita with CM Punk on commentary. Longtime rivals Chris Jericho and William Regal will have a face-to-face confrontation. And in the main event, Adam Cole faces Jeff Hardy in a semifinal run match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Then next Friday night, AEW Rampage on TNT at a special time. Check your local listings. Owen Hart Foundation quarterfinal round matchup with Red Velvet taking on former friend Chris Statlander. After that, 3 years to the day from AEW's first ever pay-per-view event, we return to Las Vegas, Nevada for the home stretch of Double or Nothing with AEW Dynamite live on May 25th. Tickets available right now at AEWTIX.com and Ticketmaster.com. And then all comes down to Sunday, May 29th, Double or Nothing live on pay-per-view. The main event, Hangman Adam Page versus CM Punk for the AEW World Championship. Thunder Rosa looks to defend her AEW Women's World Championship against number 1 ranked Serena Deeb. If he can meet the conditions laid by MJF, Wardlow will finally get his one-on-one match. Plus the final rounds of both the men's and women's Owen Hart Foundation tournaments. And ahead of the pay-per-view, Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling will face the team of Hook and Danhausen on the buy-in.
On to the main event. Wouldn't you know it? Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti are in the crowd to watch. They have their AAA mixed tag belts, which I alternate between thinking they look good and thinking they look like McDonald's belts every time I look at them. But tonight is about the TNT title. First defense for Sky since winning, and it's made great emphasis on Sky and Kaz being former tag partners. SCU chance to start us off, and we dap up before we lock up. You'll love to see it. As you'd expect from two skilled dudes who respect each other, we start off with some technical wristlock tradery, and a nice little face-off. Something I really enjoy watching in pro wrestling are matches like this where the volume isn't necessarily all the way up. Sometimes you have a match like this one, or especially the one between Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler for a couple weeks ago, where you start off and both guys are running at like a 2 for the first chunk of it. Content to kind of just wear down the opponent and lock in a nice cradle pin or something to take the win. That way when the volume goes up, it means a lot more. This is like the logical opposite of the Jeff Hardy versus Darby Allin match. We get a suicida from Sky to turn the volume up real quick, then back down with a chin lock back in the ring. Kaz squirms out of it, but Sky is quickly able to get an abdominal stretch in. He reaches too far by trying to wrench the leg back, and Kaz is able to hip toss his way out of it. But Sky goes right back on him. There's a great vibe coming from Sky where it feels like he's almost disappointed that he's able to control things so easily. We come back from picture in picture, and just like that, the volume starts to turn up as Kaz makes his comeback. He's able to leg drop Sky through the ropes, get Sky in an inside cradle, Kaz, after some more moves, goes for a springboard, but Sky is able to catch him with an electric chair. Kaz is finally able to hit the springboard leg drop, but Sky jaw breaks his way out of the crossface chicken wing. Kaz does a really sick move where he launches Sky into the ring and hits the cutter, but it's only to get a 2. It's so sick. We get a fake fight forever chant, but it's still a good match. Kaz is finally able to lock in the chicken wing, but Dan Lambert and Ethan Page run down and fuck around. Page hits Kaz with the TNT title, while Dan Lambert distracts the ref, but Sky doesn't see it. Sky hits the TKO for the win. As Sky tries to have a feel-good moment and shake Kaz's hand, Kaz points out Page cheated. Sky initially gets in Page's face, but when Page asks what side Sky is on, he hits Kaz with the belt himself, and the Men of the Year hug. Dan Lambert calls Ty Conti Whorehausen, which doesn't make any sense, and Sammy and Ty run them off as Rampage goes off there. I'm not gonna lie, I was really disappointed with this angle, as I was enjoying Sky's slow face turn. I thought it was a good move to pivot them out of the Sammy and Ty angle, but with one moment, the whole thing comes undone. This is a true let's just see where this goes guys moment, which I haven't really felt that strongly about AEW angles in my watching so far. Overall, this is a pretty good episode of Rampage. Each match was solid, and Soho and Rio having match of the night, but it ended with a total wet fart. We still have a ton to look forward to next week though. I'm no Excalibur, but let's check out these announced matches. Dynamite next week, Wild Card Wednesday. Jericho and Regal have face-to-face confrontation. Kyle O'Reilly versus Ray Fenix for the Owen Hart Foundation quarterfinal. Britt Baker versus the Joker for the Owen Hart Foundation quarterfinal. Samoa Joe versus the Joker for the Owen Hart Foundation quarterfinal. Hangman Page versus Konosuke Takeshita. With Konosuke Takeshita. I think my mouth is just too slow to say that name properly. I apologize. Wardlow must take the 10 lashes from MJF. Adam Cole versus Jeff Hardy for the semifinal of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. And then Rampage gets Red Velvet versus Chris Statlander for the Owen Hart Foundation quarterfinal. It's going to be a great week. Thank you guys for joining me for this. It really means a whole lot, especially if you've made it this far. Having a new outlet to talk about my love for wrestling has been a huge treat, and I've been finding myself looking forward even more to watching all the shows that I can. Kinda spread my thoughts around on things. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, I love you, and this has been Return of the Mark.